Welcome back to another sports debate video, guys. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the most polarizing players in the NFL, Slant Boy himself, Michael Thomas. And so the question for today is specifically, a healthy Michael Thomas, is he in the top 5 receivers in the NFL? And this is based on ability, not necessarily stats or production. So that kind of accounts for their quarterback and situation and things like that. So to start off today, we're going to be with Shivam. Shivam, what do you think?
All right, so I think Michael Thomas is a top 5 receiver in football, and many people do call him slant boy, and I mean rightfully so. He does run slants, but he also, I believe, in 1 year had the most yards on routes that were not slant routes, which kind of just shows that he can do a lot of things. And many people don't really consider him going deep because Drew Brees really didn't have the strongest of arms. But now that he does have a stronger quarterback, he will have more opportunities to go out there and catch deeper passes, which I feel like might turn some heads because not many people think of that when they think of Michael Thomas. I mean, right now in the NFL, the only probably 3 receivers I might put ahead of Michael Thomas are Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, and Julio Jones. But other than that, I feel like Michael Thomas, I mean, he constantly comes in there day in and day out. He puts up stats. He can do a lot of things. He's always a reliable target for quarterbacks. I mean, and it's going to be exciting to see what he can do with Jameis Winston. So I think he is a top 5 receiver in football.
So, first and foremost, I'm going to reiterate that Michael Thomas is one of the most overhated players. Overhated, not overrated. But I find it unfair to put him in the top 5 of wide receivers based on ability, because yes, he 2 years ago he dominated the league. He beat Marvin Harrison's record for most receptions in a season. But I feel like the past year, because football is such a game where it's like recent stuff, you can't really football people have short careers. People's career apex are very short-lived. And I think right now you have to give credit to Stefon Diggs, who had a terrific season last season. And I feel like many people actually don't understand completely how terrific that season was. You have to give credit to Tyreek Hill, who I think is the hardest person to coach against. You have to give credit to the 3 people that Shivam mentioned. And I feel like Michael Thomas has hit that apex in his career and is going down. And off the field issues with that fight in practice, I feel like certain things just add to that, especially with a new quarterback in Drew Brees or in Jameis Winston.
Michael Thomas, he is, I think, definitely a top 5 receiver. I'm gonna say top 3 when healthy, and this
Blasphemy.
This might have a little bias because Michael Thomas is one of my favorite players, but when you look at, because the question specifically says when healthy, so we're kind of discounting last year because he the high ankle sprains are really hard injuries, especially when you rush back and they're just gonna be lingering. So the fact that he was able to put up top 10 most yards ever in a season, I'm pretty sure even higher than that, the most amount of receptions, that's just crazy. I mean, production is production no matter how you get it. The whole slant boy narrative is so stupid because, okay, so what if he only runs slants? That's fine by me if he's still getting yards and no one can guard him, like his name implies. But I think for a receiver to be able to put up 149 receptions on 85% catch percentage, that's ridiculous. And I think just being that consistent for that many years, for 4 straight years or 3 straight years before last season, I think that's just Michael Thomas is the best receiver in the not the best, sorry, the top 3 receiver in the league. The only people I'd put ahead of him are probably Devontae and DeAndre Hopkins.
Wait, Dash, I had a question about Stefon Diggs. So, isn't this his 6th year in the NFL? 5th or 6th year, something like that? It was.
Wait,
and
he was
what happened?
He was drafted in 2015.
Yeah, so the first 4 or 5 years, I mean, he really didn't have that big of a break. His breakout season comes 6 years into the league. Why? What if this was just an outlier season? Michael Thomas has had 3 or 4 consecutive seasons of at least 1,000 yards.
That's such a flawed argument. You know who wide receiver was almost cut? Devontae Adams. Now Devontae Adams is arguably the best wide receiver in football.
You also said
that's such a flawed argument.
You also said, football's a recent thing, which I agree with. Like, if you have a bad season, that's what you have to kind of look at. Well, let's talk about Tom Brady in 2019. Tom Brady didn't play that well. And I know he didn't have weapons, but you could argue the same about Michael Thomas. He had Drew Brees on his last leg. You have to look at overall ability, and Michael Thomas, like the few games with Taysom Hill, even he played really well. And I think Michael Thomas is going to have a comeback year. I think Michael Thomas is going to be a second or first team All-Pro this year.
You bringing up Tom Brady perfectly showed why Stefon Diggs should be on that list over Michael Thomas.
I'm not talking about Stefon Diggs, but if I'm comparing, because I'm basing this off of 2019 Michael Thomas, because that's what I think he still is, because he's like 28. That's like the prime of an NFL career. I think 2019 Michael Thomas is better than 2020 Stefon Diggs. I think it's better than Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill benefits so much from Mahomes. I think Michael Thomas being able to do that much with Drew Brees, and we've seen him run deeper routes, like the one in Chicago. I remember he had a really good deep route and a deep catch. Like, Michael Thomas is certainly capable. He's one of the best route runners in the league. He's certainly capable of putting up, like going deep. So I think it's just...
At what point? Mm-hmm. At what point can we stop comparing 2019 to 2020? At what point do we stop comparing 2019 to 2020?
Because
that's my question.
Because 2020 was injury plagued. Because the question's asking when healthy. It's not like Michael Thomas had a Carson Wentz year.
So was Julio Jones. Well, Julio Jones, if I remember correctly, put up the sixth most yards per game. Even though he was practically playing with an injury all the whole year. Even when he was playing.
Yeah, but
you know who wasn't playing? Michael Thomas, because he did have an injury that happens to way too many players. But you can't forget how he also started a fight in practice, right?
That happens.
Like, it's not
Pat
just
McAfee
the injury.
Talked about that. How he doesn't. Pat McAfee said, like, I don't understand why this was brought to this level. Fights happen all the time in practice. People punch each other. Like, your teammate literally calls you a slant boy. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, you don't want him to just calmly walk away?
You take that criticism, right? I'm not an NFL wide receiver, so I can't really speak to it. But wouldn't you want to take that criticism and just burn that cornerback on the next route?
People take criticism differently. Some people use it as motivation. Some people take their anger out right away.
Exactly. I don't really agree with Michael Thomas's whole Twitter stuff, the way he responds to criticism. I don't think that's the way to go about it. But when you're talking about pure ability, I think being able to put up that good stats for that long. It's not like Michael Thomas had a crazy 2019, but the rest of his years were irrelevant. He was building up to that. He was like a first-team All-Pro the year before. And it's not like he had a Carson Wentz year where he just played bad despite being fully healthy. He was injured. So, do you think Christian McCaffrey's bad now? No. I think Christian McCaffrey's still the best running back in the league. So I don't think this really hurts Michael Thomas's stock.
I think a high ankle sprain can severely impact especially a skill position.
What do you think about Christian McCaffrey? He had the same exact injury.
I genuinely think that next year Christian McCaffrey won't be the best running back in football.
Still,
I think he'll be a top 5 running back in football, but I also think that running back's a lot. I feel like running back is a position that there's a lot less running backs, and it's very top heavy. And I think Christian McCaffrey won't be at the top of that top, but he'll be amongst the top. I think Michael Thomas is a top 10 wide receiver in football, but I think saying he's top 5 is just discrediting Tyreek Hill, who many defensive coordinators have nightmares about, and Stefon Diggs, who just needed a change in environment where he was the wide receiver 1 and showed that he can be a wide receiver 1, and not just a good wide receiver 1, a top 5 wide receiver 1 in the league.